We're often asked how we came up with the name Perception. And really, it goes back to the very beginning when Danny and I put this business model together of being able to accomplish high-end visual effects and graphics on desktop computers, in effect giving the illusion that they were created on higher-end machines when they were really being created on very cost-effective Macintosh computers. So that was one of the first impetuses for creating the word perception. The other reason that we use the word perception is, personally, I've always loved optical illusions and magic, and you can see posters from famous magicians surrounding our studio. Our first and second space had a gallery of optical illusions lining the halls, and we used to use all sorts of these perceptual illusions for our ads and our marketing pieces, our brochures, our mailers. It really became a very strong part of the brand. The idea of intriguing the senses, of fooling the senses, of trying to stimulate all the senses, not just the visual, but the auditory, the tactile, etc., was really part of the DNA of this company when we first put the plan together.
Yeah, it basically came down to the mind-bending techniques that we were going to incorporate into being not only creative, making the stuff look great, but being creative with the technology that we had at the time.
One of the lines we used at the very beginning, which you used to use constantly, I think you came up with it back then, was "see different." Right? And again, that was part of the mission or the sales efforts that we both had to do, is how do we get clients to see things a little bit differently than what they were used to seeing. And what we mean by that is you don't have to step into a $1,000 an hour luxury suite to edit a commercial or to do graphics for a commercial. You could actually come into Perception for a lot less money and get just as good, if not better, work from us. And it was a brand new model and a brand new way of seeing the post-production process.
Yeah, and it basically came down to a re-education of the clients. Coming from RGA, again working in these high-end suites. Everybody was very used to that. So when they came to Perception, they'd be sitting on a couch with us and a couple of desktop machines. It was a lot of like, wait, what's going on? Are we going to be able to pull this off? And of course we did, and we did it, exceeding their expectations. But it was going back to that motto of see differently. And one of our first ads that we did in Shoot magazine, on the back cover was an eye chart, with the word perception. And
we made that a poster in the first space.
That's
it's
right.
Been with us for 15 years.
That's right. It's still here. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's basically, for us, it was like, I think the next one of our mottos was check your vision.
Mm-hmm.
And again, trying to let everybody know, like, hey, there's new ways, better ways to do this sort of thing. And not only can we do it, as fast, as creative, not destroy the budget, within the realms of, trying to get a commercial done, or network rebranding, promos for different clients, things like that.
People also ask us a lot about the logo, and that mark, again, it's been with us since day one. I did a ton of different logos, and me and Danny went back and forth about a bunch of them, but I think we both always gravitated towards the mark. And really, it's clearly an eye in the middle, and that's a very direct connection to the word perception. But then you have these four arms, which sort of represent the other four senses. So the eye in the middle is the fifth sense, and it all is kind of there in a very abstract and very bold way.
When we were talking about the logo, when we saw it, Jeremy mentions, the eye being in the middle, and for me, it was more of a magnifying glass that kind of expanded into, out to the different universes, to show not only the clients to see differently, but to also start to think about what's next for Perception. What kind of worlds can we get into within the design and creative and those types of realms, and that's exactly what we did. It was almost like our hidden roadmap, in the logo. And it didn't really click to me until we started working on, in 2009 with Iron Man 2, and then we finished that and we started working in the technology world, that that's the type of the trails that we started to kind of blaze on.
So at the very beginning, when we started Perception, I came into it as a designer, an animator. Danny, of course, visual effects artist. But something that we both had in common was being drawn to the type of work that really challenged people's senses. And we always looked at sequences in movies or commercials or even music videos that were just mind trips that would turn reality upside down or inside out. Just take people on a journey that they really didn't even see coming, keeping people guessing on their feet, or the type of work that you almost want to watch over and over again because you're going to see new things each time that you watch them.
Yeah, we used to get a ton of inspiration. You know, we used to, when we first opened up, it was on 22nd Street, and there was a huge Barnes & Noble. Remember, we used to go there.
We now have it behind us on this
bookshelf. That's right. So we used to go there, we would purchase the books, and sometimes, you know, we didn't have the money to buy all the books, so we would take pictures of certain, whether it was architecture or design books.
MC Escher.
Yeah, and it was always about what was perception-y, you know, what was going to bend people's minds or bend reality, or you know, there was always that atmosphere of, you know, magic that we always wanted to kind of you know, weave into all the different projects. And you know, even later when we became judges for Promax, you know, that was something that always stood out to me. For, you know, I always tried to look for something that was like, whoa, how did that just happen, you know? And I remember specifically one of my favorite ones that I gave a 10 across the board was an old, I think it was might have been a Mexican channel. It was like a channel TVE4 or something like that. You're watching this live action and you don't know what's going on. It's like a scene in, you know, in like the middle of the desert with a gas station, but the camera's doing a little bit of a move, and all of a sudden everything lines up and shows the 4 for about a split second and then goes away. But it's the telephone pole that matches up with the sign, that matches up with it, and you could clearly see the 4, but it's like, did I just see a 4, or was I just like, you know, putting the pieces together?
Yeah, I remember that. And I also remember that we had all kinds of ideas for our own space to replicate some real world optical illusions, whether it was taking our logo and projecting it on walls and surfaces in the physical space, that if you were standing in the right spot, it would all line up and perfectly spell perception. But if you went 1 inch to the left or right, it would just completely look like abstract geometry. We used to talk about putting doors on the ceilings, funhouse mirrors, all kinds of stuff, because we really wanted this sense that when clients came here and worked with us, that they were going on a perception journey.
Yeah, it was a cross between you know, the mind bending and you know, I guess messing with reality, and crossing that with Willy Wonka.
Yep.
You know, and there was, when we even talked about it, it's like, you know, when clients came to the space, we wanted to have like these hands that were sticking on the wall to, you know, grab the jacket, or not, I shouldn't say grab it. Literally, you hang your jacket on, it's just a regular hook, you know, or you put your hat on there.
Yeah.
But we were gonna mess with people's minds, and one of those hands was gonna be actually an elastic, you know, piece of the wall that I would put my hand in, and then we'd wait for the client to come, and then all of a sudden I would like grab their hat, and we'd be like, what the hell just happened? You know. Like,
on that note, do you remember the cat?
That's right, right. So in the space before this one, we had a cat that wasn't a real cat. We weren't allowed to have animals. And basically we purchased a cat that was just laying there, but it had a little bit of motion on its stomach, and it looked like it was a cat sleeping. So every time
we put on a towel.
Yeah, we had a towel set up. It was so, you know, it was perfect. It was adorbs. And basically the client would come in and be like, hey guys, I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't know the cat was sleeping, you know.
Or the landlord would come through and stop dead in his tracks because he was about to evict us, seeing that we had an illegal pet on the premises.
That's right. So to assure him, what I did was I'd be like, hey, come, you know, he's only here for a couple of minutes, we're gonna bring him home. And then I like literally would flip the cat, because it was basically made out of cardboard and, you know, cat hair and things like that. But it was, again, you know, whether it's messing with reality for comedy, you know, for us to have fun at work, or it was, you know, adding those sort of qualities visualistically into all the projects that we had, that was, you know, messing with everybody's perception of things.
Yeah, it's actually incredible to look back and think that when we first started Perception, it was really about motion graphics, animation, visual effects, and now doing user experience design and interface design, and really creating experiences that rely on a lot more than just the visual, that rely very much on touch and haptics and auditory. The brand and the name and the logo, it's as important as ever to what we do, and it's as integral to what we do as it was day one.
And it's also interesting because when people whether it's new clients or clients we've been working with for years, they always use the word perception in sentences when they're describing, a project or, what they want to show their clients or, their executives, like,
Talking about brands as the perception of a brand.
Exactly. So, it's a very well perceived word, and it's used quite a lot in the world of, especially in our world. It's just great to hear when someone's describing something to you and they throw in the word perception and they're talking to the company perception. It's like a double whammy for us when they say that on a phone call. I'm like, all right, they actually said our name.
Yeah,
They didn't even know
exactly.
it. So,
subliminal. I would say the ultimate culmination of all this was in the last few months. We worked on Doctor Strange.
that's right.
And what an incredible marriage of everything we've just been talking about in one sequence. We got to work on the Mind Trip sequence, which was like a magical mystery tour of the soul as Doctor Strange journeys through all the different astral planes of the multiverse, and we got to go very deep into conceptual development on that. So it was just a perfect opportunity for us to show off the perception side of perception.